Welcome everyone. We have a very interesting session and it's about using OpenMap GIS to inform advocacy for malnutrition reduction. We have Honorable Nemo on our midst, and if you have any questions, feel free to add it to the chat and then she would answer them afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Nema Lugangera, and here we're on the hills of Kamachumu in Muleba district, Kagera region in Tanzania. As I introduce myself, my name is Nema Lugangera. I'm a member of parliament here in Tanzania, but I'm also the founder of an NGO called Agri Thamani Foundation. Agri for agriculture, Thamani means value in Kiswahili, and our vision is to add value towards efforts that will lead us to end malnutrition in Tanzania. A few months ago, we got introduced to data mapping, and this was done through a community grant that we got from OMDTZ. And our project was focused on mapping out the nutrition status of vulnerable communities. And in these vulnerable communities, we focused on two main groups. Schools, so that we can look at the nutrition status in our schools, and the elderly community, so that we can look at our nutrition status for the elderly community. But also, combined in these two areas, we also touched on our health centers. And through this experience, we as Agri Thamani came to realize the importance of using data mapping for our advocacy work. So the advocacy work that Agri Thamani does is we tend to find out the situation on the ground, use the evidence that we find on the ground towards policy advocacy, if it's reform, if it's different kinds of reforms that we need, regulation, guidelines, etc., from the government and the development sector. So being able to use data through this data mapping will make our argument so much stronger, and it is for that reason we are so grateful by having this opportunity. But two main things that we did. First of all, it was important for our own team in Agri Thamani to be trained on how to perform and how to conduct data mapping. But also, we decided to pick community health workers that we can work with. We can work with in our data mapping project, but it will also enable us to make this project to be sustainable. What we've done is we've mapped out the nutrition status in all the public schools in these 66 streets. We've mapped out the nutrition status of elderly, and we've covered about 1,500 elderly households. So it's exciting. It's been a great learning process. And through that, believe it or not, we have been able to use this data to also inform our own process of finalizing our first strategic plan for the next 5 years. So what can I say? Data mapping is crucial. But the one thing that I would like to conclude with is oftentimes, the data mapping experts, they conduct enormous data, very important and crucial data, especially for decision makers like ourselves. But this data isn't shared with us. So I wish to challenge all the data mappers out there and all of the people who are involved in this space. When you conduct such data mapping, and you have such data, it must not remain within your own space. It is very important to inform decision makers, to inform legislators, to inform policymakers, so that such data can be used, can be internalized, and can inform our decision making. I personally, as a policymaker, decision maker, a legislator, I highly value on evidence-based advocacy. Myself, I'm a data mapper, but most importantly, Agri Thamani Foundation is a data mapper. And guess what? Through this experience, I have joined up with a team of very young, enthusiastic professionals, and we have formed Omuka Hub. Omuka Hub is focused on bridging the rural digital gaps. Like right now, I'm in the rural. Connectivity issues, digital literacy, digital skills, all of these issues are very crucial to ensure that we are able to conduct these data mapping initiatives and then use the data that we are mining from the community to inform decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. You can start with the presentation.
Thank you. Should I go ahead, Angela? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Nema Lugangira. I'm the founder and executive director of an NGO called Agri Thamani Foundation, and I'm also a member of parliament here in Tanzania. Basically, our presentation, I hope from the video you've come to get an understanding of what Agri Thamani is doing. And we've recently been introduced to data mapping through a community grant that we got through OMDTZ. And the focus was mapping nutrition interventions for the most vulnerable households in Bukoba Municipal and Kagera region. Next slide, please. Hello.
Yeah, we're on the next slide.
It hasn't reflected on this side.
I guess it's with the internet.
Oh, okay. Anyway, basically, Agri Thamani was formed to add value towards ending malnutrition efforts here in Tanzania. And when we saw the community grant call, we applied because we saw it's a unique opportunity for us to be able to understand the nutrition challenges, but also how deep and how deep the nutrition needs are. So through this community grant, we've been able to map out vulnerable households. But one of the things that we came to realize as soon as we wanted to start is nobody in Bukoba knew how to map out data. So it was important to train new mappers, and we felt that in order to make it sustainable, it's better we involved local government leaders and community health workers. So we did the training. First, our own team at Agri Thamani got trained, and thereafter we conducted training for the local government officials who are going to be involved. But we also conducted trainings. I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, and we also conducted trainings to the community health workers, and then that made it very easy for us, because when we first started, we tried to do it as just the Agri Thamani team, but we came to realize that no, in order to add value, the local government officials should also be involved, and the community health workers should be involved. So we had to conduct trainings for them. And since I think for the last month and a half, we've been doing all our mapping activities in the entire district in collaboration with the local government officials and the community health workers. And in total, we've managed to map out 34 health centers and schools, 900 households. And the biggest takeaway for us has been getting the local government officials to see the importance of using the data, and to see how easy it is. You can just click on an area and know how many schools in this area provide school meals, how many schools have enough toilets, how many schools have access to water. So knowing that and having the accessibility to such information would truly inform decision making, etc. Then on the other hand, myself being a member of parliament, I started asking myself, there have been lots of initiatives towards mapping data, data mapping, lots of different mappers covering different kinds of areas. But this data and this information, I had never come across it prior to Agri Thamani being involved in a data mapping project. So it started hitting me that I think it's very important for ourselves as data mappers to aim that the data we mine needs to reach legislators, because otherwise, we have very good data, very good findings, but then they're not used to inform decision. And to me, that seemed to be such a lost opportunity, because I personally saw the power
of having such data and understanding such data and using it to advocate for either policy reform, legislation, or improved programs, be it local government budgeting, etc. I'm not able to see the following slide. I'm having a typical rural internet connectivity issue.
It's the slide on opportunities.
Okay, thank you. So the opportunities that I'm seeing, one is that there is a huge opportunity of training mappers in the rural areas, especially peripheral regions, because these areas are full of content, full of information. For example, if I take the example of nutrition, right now globally there is a huge talk about food systems, but our food systems cannot be strong, cannot be strengthened or improved if we leave out the rural food systems. But how can we get the rural food systems without, having the data? So such initiatives and getting more mappers on board can inform government strategies, development partner strategies on how to improve food systems, for example. But there is also a huge opportunity of getting youth involved in mapping activities. That is something which at the moment in Bukoba is not happening, but I'm seeing it's a huge opportunity. Third, the other opportunity I'm seeing is even towards agribusiness, agricultural businesses. You have smallholder farmers, especially youth and women. They produce, let's say, tomatoes, but they have a challenge of the market. But through mapping, it can be easy to map out maybe the potential markets for them. And a peripheral region like Kagera borders 3 countries, Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi. So there can also be a way of having access to markets. So I'm seeing so many opportunities. And the biggest opportunity that I found, and I immediately jumped on it, is the opportunity of creating a hub, a technological hub in Kagera region. So we've recently set up Omuka Hub, which is focused on bridging the rural digital gaps. And this has been inspired by Agri Thamani and my participation in this data mapping project to see, there is something that we can do to make our region be, take advantage of the technological opportunities, but also take advantage of ensuring that our region isn't left behind, be it through digital, government budgets, government plans, etc. And having data, having mappers in place would be a great advantage to the region.
Okay. We have some questions
Okay.
that, yes, would like you to tackle for now. A question from Janet Chapman. She asks, what is the best way to inform decision makers about data in OpenStreetMap?
To me, firstly, I feel that it's important to engage them from the onset. For example, let's say you're mapping out, let's say, violence on women, for example. You're mapping out incidences of, violence on women. Let's say in Kagera region, I'll pick the region that I'm from. What you can do is, whilst you're planning that project, you can already identify, the leaders, the political leaders in the area, if it's parliamentarians or ward councillors, and you can identify, for example, if it's about female, you can identify the female parliamentarians or the female ward councillors and engage them from the beginning of designing that project, so that, because they can also provide an input on how best to conduct the study, how best to conduct the study. And then once you do that, you make sure at every stage when you're doing your stakeholder analysis, stakeholder mapping, you involve them. You involve them as well. So that's what I can say. Involvement is very important, and making sure that once you've finalized your data, you find those politicians who are interested in that agenda and you engage with them. You show them the results that you found. And I believe on evidence-based advocacy. So if you have the data there, it makes even the advocacy much stronger. And I'm sure if we do that, we will be able to get a few that will grasp the agenda and use that data to advocate for whatever change that the data the data that has been mapped aim to achieve.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable. It's been an honor having you today in this conference and telling us how you are able to use the tools to map the nutrition in your district, your municipality. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very, very, very much. And I look forward to being part of this community, learning and together making sure that, data that is being mapped reach legislators, and we as legislators can use it to inform decision as well.
Yeah, thank you. We are very much impressed with your project.
Thank you.